Thank you for listening to the Distinguished Physical Education Podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share that the Distinguished PE K-5 curriculum is now available for pre-sale. This is a comprehensive, standards-based curriculum, complete with daily content and language objectives, assessments, rubrics, and activity modifications and extensions for every lesson. It has everything you need to deliver a high-quality physical education curriculum from day one. This pre-sale is open now, and the curriculum drops on August 1st. This limited-time offer gives you access to the curriculum for your entire career. No 1, 3, or 5-year licenses. Take advantage of this offer, and it'll be the last curriculum you ever purchase. Visit www.distinguishedpe.com/curriculum for more information and to see how it stacks up against other curriculum companies that you're familiar with. Now let's get to today's episode. My guest today is Derek Thomas, a National Board Certified PE teacher at Cheyenne High School in North Las Vegas, and the 2024 Shape Nevada and 2025 Shape America Western District High School Teacher of the Year. His teaching philosophy centers on movement with purpose, helping students discover confidence, strength, and lifelong wellness. Derek creates inclusive, high-energy lessons that blend sport, fitness, and leadership development while promoting equity and belonging. Whether teaching, coaching, or mentoring colleagues, Derek's mission is to make PE a space where every student feels empowered, challenged, and proud of who they're becoming both in and out of the gym. In this episode, Derek and I talk about his fitness program, how he makes connections between what students are learning and their lives outside of school, the role that student choice plays in his lessons and units, the opportunities that he provides for students to set their own goals, how he helps students track their own progress toward those goals, and other topics. And now I bring you Derek Thomas. Derek, it's a pleasure speaking with you today.
Well, thanks for having me on.
I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on a handful of topics today. But first, I just wanted to congratulate you on your recent Shape America Western District Teacher of the Year Award from 2025. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It's been a great year and a great experience of doing all that and advocating for health and PE across America, so I've really enjoyed it.
I know how passionate you are about PE being more than just playing games, running laps, students breathing hard and sweating. How do you design your program so that students experience rigorous, standards-based learning without sacrificing student enjoyment or their level of buy-in or how they engage in your class?
I think you have to be present. The first thing I say, you have to be present in your ideas and your thought process. I have like a template of about 8 things that I think about when I'm doing that. One is standard-based driven. Are you following the Shape America standards? That's grade level outcomes, things like that we all have to do. Next, I go into meaningful PE at the core. I go through the 6 features of it, and I want students to understand why they're learning. I think that makes them feel successful, and then they get into the things that why you're doing it, how you're doing it, what the outcome is that we're looking for. Then I get into what I would say the authentic assessment phase, which is you're basing your standards with your assessments, whether it's skill rubrics, self-assessments, peer assessment, goal setting, reflections, and performance tasks. So I make sure the students understand that these are the things that we're looking for, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it, so that they're able to monitor their learning along with how I'm guiding instruction. After that, I've learned through just a lot of different presentations going around the country, things I've added to this in my toolbox will be real world transfer, which helps students understand the why I'm doing these things. How do you plan your fitness planning? What is the reason for that? Recreational sports, movements and community-based activities, things like that. Why you're doing it for lifelong fitness. Those are some of the things that I like to do. And then a big key thing that now is being student-centered. I want you to own it. I'm here to guide you, help you, but I want you to own it. And I want you to understand this is for you. I use a lot of, for instructional things with PE, I use game-based learning. I just think down the road, you may have to help them learn how to do rules and things like that. So I try to base things off of that for teaching and cooperation and fitness and things like that. So I try to do that. Obviously, you want to look at safety, the environment, including everybody in all the things that you're doing, and then just be able to reflect. One of the key things I've learned, I've always done as a coach or teacher, was be able to reflect. Like, was this good, or did they enjoy that, or did it align? Was it rigorous enough? Is it based on the things that I'm trying to do? And I base everything off of those things and I go from there.
You mentioned that one of the things that you want students to take away from the lesson is why they're learning what they're learning. Do you have an example of something that you've taught recently and what it sounds like for you to help students make that connection? Do you share it with them at the beginning of the lesson when you're communicating the objective? Is it part of their assessment? What does it look like to actually communicate why what students are learning is important throughout a lesson?
I start with it from day one. And then I do it at the beginning of class and toward the end, anytime we're doing stuff, particularly like, for instance, in weight training. I work on 7 fundamental movements that I think are things that you do daily. And I'll use the examples, go pick that box up, and then we'll talk about different lifts or exercise we do, putting groceries away, things that you're going to be doing. I said, we're getting here to help you with these things. So when you get older, you understand why I do this and to help build lifelong fitness. So those are some little simple little things that they get to, aha, okay, now I get what you're talking about.
You've mentioned real world connections a couple of times already. I know that teaching students fitness concepts is a big part of your program. How do you make those concepts personally relevant to students so that they understand the connection between what they're learning in your classroom, in this case, in your fitness classes, and their lives outside of school?
All the training applies to life beyond school. I think that's the best way to connect with people, understand that. And my philosophy around, like I said, 7 fundamental movements, which are pull-ups, push-ups, lunges, squats, planks, push press, and hip mobility rotation. So I base everything of all the workouts around those because those are everyday movements that we're all doing. And you want to make sure that you're doing these because they transfer directly to the daily function and long-term health. So I base everything off of that. I interview my students, asking them what are their interests. When I'm making workouts, I break them into about 7 or 8 different categories. It could be just a regular novice lifter, different sports, basketball, baseball, football, wrestling, track and field. And then I also do, because it's becoming popular with some of my students, is boxing and MMA. I've added a little bit of those type of things in there, and we do a monthly individual program where I break off into those groups, and then you go into those things and do that, and then you monitor your fitness. And every couple of weeks, we do a reflection on how you're doing, what your challenges are, what do you want to improve in. So that helps me build for the next month out. So I want them to understand, like I said, you're building knowledge, you're building confidence, and then I start seeing students helping each other. So that's the biggest joy I get, that you're understanding how to master the techniques to help other people.
So it sounds like you provide quite a bit of student choice in your fitness classes as well.
That is correct. They're more engaged, they care more, they ask more questions, and I just enjoy watching them grow just from week 1 to the semester to whatever, of learning different things.
It seems like every PE teacher that I speak to is looking for ways that they can include more student choice in their programs. You just gave a really great example for your fitness classes. Can you walk us through any other examples, whether it's a lesson or at the unit level, where you put students in a position where they can make meaningful decisions about their own
Sure.
learning?
Well, one is, we do in PE, we'll do a thing where I call menu choice days. And they'll have a choice between mild, medium, and spicy. Mild is, I'm just going to walk today. I'm going to do some stretching. I'm going to take it easy. Medium is throwing, catching, working on skill work. Could be working on lifting technique. And spicy is when you get into like team play and competitive things like that. So I give them a choice. What are you going to do? You're going to be mild, medium, or spicy today. Whatever activity is, it could be a different sport or activity, whatever. And I let the students choose that. And I'm amazed at what kids can come up with when you give them that, and they have an idea of thinking of what that is. So that plays a central role in what we're trying to do. So I try to get them to be active decision makers and what they're doing. When we're doing fitness testing, I use FitnessGram testing, but I've come up with my own school testing, what I've gotten approved by the district and state. So we'll have 12 fitness assessments that we use that measure speed, power, core, agility, cardiovascular, muscular, upper body, lower body, and flexibility. And we'll go through the semester and we'll pick out different activities that fit in those. And I'll explain to the kids why they do that. So at the end of the semester, when I come back for an exam or performance, I'm going to tell them to choose what 6 you want to pick. And now you discuss it, write it, perform it, whatever. You choose which ones you want, which are important to you. So I think that helps embed the daily focus on what they need to do, whether it's weight training, PE or whatever it is, that it's on them. They're picking the selection, they're picking the program, they're picking the weights they need or how hard you want to work and those things. So they get to be able to gauge what they're doing.
When we think of student choice, one thing that I worry about is that teachers think that student choice means kids can just come in and it's unstructured and they get to do whatever they want. I want to dig a little bit deeper into your example of mild, medium, and spicy. Let's say that a student chooses the mild option. Are you still able to make connections back to standards based learning, even if they choose that option?
Yes, because let's say they choose stretching. We do yoga, we do hip and rotation mobility. So they know there's certain requirements that I have as far as a warm up and poses and different things that they're to do. And they can add to those, but they all know them too. So they know the basis and we build from there. So if you're not doing it, somebody will look at like, what are you doing? So they get that, okay, I'm gonna work on this and hey, I want to work on my hips or I want to work on my shoulders or I'm gonna work on my hamstrings or whatever. You know what they're doing, or hey, I had a game last night. I'm gonna walk. I'm sore or whatever. So they don't usually abuse it. So I've been really pleased with that.
Well, it shows that you're really willing to meet students where they're at and help them with whatever support they need in order to make progress towards your daily goal. What do you notice as a result of student buy in and student engagement when you provide them with that level of choice and differentiation?
We have a thing in our weight training class which we've set the bar with you have to have certain requirements to get into our weight training class. So it's almost like big brother taking care of little brother. If you want to get to here's our standard. The standard is a standard for us. And the younger kids want to be a part of it, but we're like, well, you have to follow these prerequisites to be in it. And I tell the guys, you have to set the standard, how you act, how you participate, how you do help each other, those type of things. So I've got a huge buy-in of how we walk, how we talk, how we act, and those type of things.
That just shows the strength of your reputation of the program, that you have students who are begging to get in. I've always felt that when students want to be in your class, there are so many issues that you just don't have to deal with anymore. Behavior issues are something that goes out the window. Lack of engagement is not something that you generally have to worry about because you've really built a program that has a respected culture in your school.
Knock on wood, it's really growing, and I'm impressed with it. It engages me more to try different things and add more. We've added yoga. We've inquired about maybe adding break dancing and doing some other things, maybe outdoor activities, some other things to add to see if students be interested in, just to give them ideas, some things we're doing. PE exploratories, just individual sport, team sports, dual sports. If that's something you like, I want to add it to the program so that you're going to be active. That's my whole thing right there.
A lot of the teachers that I support in the role that I have currently as a PE instructional coach, and a lot of the teachers that listen to this podcast, they sometimes I think grow a little bit impatient with how long it might take to build a culture like that. Can you share with teachers how long you think it took before you started to notice the difference that this culture that you were building was changing? And do you have any advice for teachers who might be trying to start something new?
That's a loaded question, and I'll try to layer it to the best I can. I felt like where I came in, we were below ground zero, and within 3 months, you start to see a culture shift. Now, there's a lot of fighting with it. There's a lot of people fighting you on change and adding to those type of things. And then another 6 months, you saw another change. A great example is our weight room was just filled with just equipment, things broken, things were gone. And I asked questions about what kids want. I gave them a vision of what I have for what I've seen, a different presentation, talking with different teachers around the country, what they're doing. And I said, hey, I want to add some turf. I want to have some more room where you can move around and do stretching and do some other things. And by the end of the year, I had kids moving equipment out to the dumpsters, cutting up turf, helping me build 15 by 10 turf that we can lay on, do stretching, yoga, whatever, quick burst for sports. We've got ropes, we got different things we're doing. The kids are buying into where it's almost automatic. I won't say automatic, but it's like, you know what you're supposed to do. You know we're warming up. You know what you're supposed to do. Go get it. Go help each other. Go make sure you're spotting each other. It's just been amazing to see that they feel like it's theirs. It's their room, it's their area. And with PE, I'm getting it to the where, like I said, I've got the mild, medium, and spicy most of the time, unless we're doing something particular we need to do that they'll come joke, well, I'm going to be spicy today. I'm going to be medium today. And you'll look at all the different spaces and you can pick out, okay, that group is medium, that group is spicy. There's a medium, and you can see what they're doing, what depending on whatever activity they're doing. You're like, this is really coming along. This is really coming along.
I really love that you brought up the physical environment itself. There's some teachers who I've worked with in the past who they're really trying their hardest to turn their program around. And when you look at the physical space, you can see that it just hasn't been respected over the last period of years when previous teachers were there. And I think until you get students to buy in to the physical space itself in exactly the way that you just described, it's really hard to get students to either get motivated or to take your program seriously if they walk in the gym and there's always wrappers or food on the floor, or your weight room, is never cleaned up and there's always dumbbells just laying all over the place and yoga mats, strewn all over the room. So I really connected with what you shared about students buying into the physical environment itself.
I had a coach who has been at the school nearly 30 years, and he doesn't come down to the gym much. And he actually came down a couple of months ago, and he called me after school. And he's like, he goes, "Hey man, this is amazing." I said, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "I've been here 30 years and I've never seen the floor like this. This is spotless. It's clean. There's no trash. There's no wrappers or nothing." He goes, "Please keep doing what you're doing." He said, "This is amazing because we don't allow anything but water in there. We don't allow food in the locker rooms. We don't allow, I mean, it's just, it's hard to get them to do, but they're starting to buy into where they know like this is how you're supposed to act. This is how you want to keep things. This is for you. Let's keep it right." And they're starting to buy in.
Goal setting is also a big part of secondary physical education programs, especially if they're focused on fitness and personal growth. What does goal setting look like in your program, and how do you help students create and reflect on goals that are realistic and meaningful?
Some of the things we talked about with that: intentional, student centered, and just monitored ongoing with what we're doing. So building them to understand about themselves and learning. We do SMART goal assessments at the beginning, getting a baseline assessment. We look in the areas of physical, social, and emotional wellness. I have them take an assignment quiz where they grade themselves and rate themselves, and then set a couple little small personal goals that we try to get done in the next 3 to 6 weeks. So that's where, like I said, it's more student driven than teacher driven. So that's where we start. And then we come up with an action plan. How do we get better at what you're doing? And then we'll come up with a mid-semester self-analysis. And then we'll do ongoing monitoring with fitness data, participation, reflection journals, things like that. In the semester, we'll do reflections again. You're scaffolding, you're reflecting, you're doing regular check-ins to see where they're at currently with their fitness, and then in their goals and things like that. They can change depending on what's going on with your life. Are you hurt or whatever? I'm improving with this, or I got worse at this. And the thing that I like about, they're not comparing. You'll see, like, especially like in the weight room, because they're doing so many different things, they're not looking at each other. Well, he can lift more than me. He can do this and that. Well, I'm doing something different than what he's doing. So they're all doing their own thing, and it's almost like a masterpiece, and you're splashing your piece of paint here and you're slashing yours and you're slashing here. It's all gonna come together in one piece. So that's kind of how we're setting our goals and doing those things. And like I said, they're learning to monitor it. And if they need more, then I'll set a goal. Like I might tell them, "Hey, you weigh this much. It says you should be lifting this much if you want to be in a certain shape. But if you don't want to do that, it's fine. But if you can lift your weight, or if you can move at this point, at this month, to this point, then you're gradually getting better, and let's just work on it. But don't worry about it." And I love when they struggle. I don't want it to be easy, but I want it to be something they can do. But I want them to have some struggle because they need to learn challenges.
The phrase that we started using out here in Denver, and I'm sure it's from somewhere else, is called productively struggling. So you want your kids to have like the appropriate level of rigor and struggle, but they also have to make some progress at the same time. Otherwise, they might quit or they might give up on the activity. So it sounds like in that goal setting process, you have students set their own goals. You kind of help facilitate those goals a little bit and, nudge them in one direction or the other. It also sounds like they're pretty reasonable as far as a timeline goes, because students are going to reflect on those goals within about a month or so. I think you said 4 to 6 weeks. You also have opportunities for students to reflect on their goals and then make modifications to their workout plan along the way. That part to me seems really impactful.
It is, and I enjoy it because it helps me get better by doing research and learning myself as far as how can I help you? What can I learn new? Because I want to learn too. So I like to learn and do things. So uh, they see I'm engaged more, so it makes them get more engaged. And then there's occasionally times where they'll challenge me and I'll step in there and show them how to do some things. So most of the stuff that I show them, I try to do myself so that I can give them a little experience. Hey, this might be a struggle part here. This might be a struggle part here. And then sometimes, my heads get a little too big. You got to knock them down, let them know what time it is. And like, maybe a little older than you, but I still got it. So there's a little fun gamemanship in there.
Let's talk a little bit about tracking and capturing data of student learning. What systems or tools have you used to help students track their learning or progress in a way that's both motivating for them to see their progress, but also something that's manageable for you? Because I'm guessing that you see a couple hundred students at least.
Yeah.
So what is an efficient way that you found to track some data of student learning?
In weight training, I would say having performance task, couple weeks, month, time, or we'll try, and I'll tell them we're going to do certain lifts or techniques. They enjoy those because they've been working on them, so they know what to do. So I give them a range of where they need to be. I put it on the board up for a while, so they have something to move forward. If they can't do it, they'll kind of come in, hey, this is a little too much. All right, well, then try this and let's modify this and go in a different direction this way and do this to get to there. Let me know where you're at now, and then we'll build from there. So those are some of the things to do. And then, like I said, I ask them questions in their journals and have them reflect on where they're at, how they're feeling, what's been good, what hasn't been good, what do they enjoy. So I try to take a lot of enjoy so I can add more things to that. So I think the more I find that, the more they grow because I find something they like that they have an interest in and they want to work towards it. So I use that along with, like I said, skill-based self-assessments and then the reflections to try to help them that help me keep track of where they're at. So I have an idea, is this working or not working? Do I need to change something up in what we're doing?
It seems like there's two main components there. One is that they're getting better at the physical skill. They're making progress physically, but then you also layer on a cognitive element to it where students have to reflect on either the goal that they set or the progress that they're making or why they might be making some sort of modification to their plan based on the data that they're seeing. Does that sound right?
That is true. And that way they can help each other. Like I want them to, they know how to spot each other and everything we're doing, but they also need to be able to teach it. And I want them to be able to teach so they can go help other people. Or like I said, you may have brothers or sisters or down the road, you may want to learn how to do so. I want you to take these skills you're learning now and be able to help other people down the road. So you're learning how to do that so nobody else will get hurt when you're doing those things.
I want to ask you a little bit about peer feedback in your fitness classes. So, is there an opportunity for students to analyze a peer's form in a given activity that they're working on and provide them with some feedback? And what does that look like in your program? And what impact does it have either on student learning or on their engagement?
Well, it's part of one of the rubrics that I put together for their performance task of being able to coach and spot and support your peers. So there'll be a graded part on the physical part of what you're able to do, and then the technical part, which is that's the other part. Well, I want to hear them giving feedback to their peers. I want them to be able to spot. I want them to talk about them, what they need to to get better, which makes them get comfortable knowing that they actually know what they're talking about instead of just saying stuff for a grade. They actually know what they're doing. So we do it enough to where it becomes secondhand. So that's the other piece of that, where, like I said, you can be real world and you're using instructional pieces and safety and those type of things all aligned together.
Some of the secondary PE teachers that I've supported over the last 10 years or so in their weight room or in their fitness classes have presented students with like a workout program of the day. Like everyone is working on these three exercises and they're going to rotate through them. Is there room in your program for something like that? Because what I hear you saying is that students all have their own individual goals. They have their own unique fitness plans. They're able to have a voice in what these things look like. How do you contrast a little bit of your approach with maybe that slightly more old school approach? What is the impact that it has on students and your program as a whole?
Well, the basis of what we do is those 7 fundamental movements. So all those workouts are going to have at least 2 similar or the same that day. all the exercises. You may be working on something different, but they're going to have probably something similar, so that we have a base that we know that they're very good at those 7 fundamental movements, but you're adding different things to them so that they're able to, like I said, to help teach and monitor this. So I think I got a little bit away from some of the older stuff we used to do because a lot of kids want to just lay down and do bench. They want to just do squat. They have no cardiovascular, endurance. They have no flexibility, so they end up hurting themselves. I do a lot of these things before, and just for example, I started at the beginning of the year. I tried like with the pull-ups. I did 3 sets of 3 at the beginning. I just wanted to get better and see. And my goal was, I laughed. I said, all right, I want to see if I can get 10. Before Christmas, I was able to do 3 sets of 10. It took me about 4 months, but I was able to do it. My next goal now is push press. I want to get up to 170 pounds of push press. I started out about 70. Now I'm up to 135, 140. So I'm doing some of the things with them and they see me doing these things. So I'm trying to do some of the things they're doing. I do the yoga with them. I do a lot of the hip mobility. I explain to them why, because they're like, how are you able to do that? And you're 3 times our age and we can't do it. I said, because I work at it. These are things you do daily. So they see me doing it. So now they're like, okay, he can do that. I should be able to do this. And it's different. It's not all the same basic. Because if you just do the same thing, bed, squat, dead, they're going to get bored. They're going to get bored. And they're going to start screwing around. And that's when people get hurt. So just trying to give them something different and change it up each month. And then now what I also do is I'm going to throw in some CrossFit because I'm also CrossFit certified. So I said, now we're going to work more on plyometrics and more on cardio and quick, smaller workouts. We're using the same type of movements, but we're going to be doing some other things. Some kids like it, some don't. So that depends on how long we do it. But I'm like, I have to expose you to some different things so that you know what you like and don't like.
I think the fact that you're involved in some of these exercises as well is really motivating for students, especially for the young men in your class that you mentioned earlier. They need a role model like you, and they need someone who's there to challenge them in a fun way and to demonstrate these exercises for them. It seems like such a positive culture that you've built in your space where students are making progress toward their own goals. You're in there setting your own goals, along with them. They get to see you make progress. It just seems like such a positive role model that kids need.
I appreciate it. I'm trying to make a little
Yeah.
bit of impact over here.
Last question, Derek. If a PE teacher listening wants to begin building a more rigorous student-driven fitness program like you've been talking about, what is one small change that they can make that would make a meaningful difference? The one thing that I'm sticking with that you mentioned so far is the physical environment. I hope I didn't just steal your answer, but I'm
No, go ahead.
really thinking like if you want to make one change like almost overnight, right? Over the course of a couple of days is to get your environment set up so that it looks like a place that students would respect. What other advice do you have for teachers that would create a meaningful difference?
I'd say discipline and accountability, where you're going to be, how you're dressed, how you move. Everybody knows where they're supposed to be, how you're doing it, and then maybe invite students to change or modify one activity you're doing, or add something they want to do in your class. Ask them what they want to do and add that to it. I think those are probably the basic starting points, and that's why I think my menu choice days have become popular because we were very stringent and rigorous on how we're doing. This is how we come in. This is what we're doing. This is how we warm up. Now I've got some of the kids running the warm ups when we get together. They know the routine. They can switch it up if they want to. When we're going to do laps, they know how we do this. When we're doing certain work, they understand how to do it. And then after a while, I started letting go a little bit and letting them expand. And now it's like I've had teachers that have been new to come in like, this is kind of nice. I see the vision. I see what's going on here. This is kind of easy if the kid, just get people to follow along. This is kind of nice. I like how you're giving them expansion. They're centered. You're giving them different activities. You're challenging them, but they're also getting to move. And you got all these kids moving around, which they weren't doing before. So I'm enjoying it.
It's a lot of work up front, especially, but when things start to get moving the way that you envision them, you become more of a facilitator. And students are taking more ownership of that learning, and you're just there to, keep things moving forward. I love that approach. Derek, is there anything else you'd like to share with listeners before we finish up?
Appreciate everybody that's here listening or is involved in this. This profession gets bad publicity all the time, but the ones that are out here doing it supposed to keep doing it and grab as one person at a time to come with you, and let's grow this thing the best we can and change the viewpoints of what we're doing out here. I think we're the most important content there is because if you can't think, you can't sleep, you can't eat, you can't move, you can't write, and you can't think math. So I think we just have the most important content area there is.
I think everyone listening would absolutely agree with you. Derek, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your experience with PE teachers from around the world. Your students and your school are really lucky to have you. Thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.